The smell hit Daniel Cross before anything else. Rotting food mixed with chemicals and something else he could not name. He pulled his jacket tighter against the cold air blowing through the waste disposal area behind Helios Crossing Station. Most people avoided this place. Daniel preferred it that way. His cargo ship needed parts. The official suppliers charged too much. Down here in the forgotten corners of the station, discarded equipment sometimes worked well enough. Daniel had learned to survive on scraps since the accident. 6 months now. 6 months since the shuttle malfunction took his wife and daughter. 6 months of other humans trying to comfort him with words that meant nothing. He kicked aside a broken container. Metal scraped against metal. The sound echoed off the curved walls. This section of the station recycled waste from dozens of alien species. The Union called it efficient. Daniel called it a dump. Something moved in the shadows ahead. Daniel froze. His hand went to the tool knife on his belt. The Rim territories bred caution into anyone who wanted to stay alive. But this was supposed to be a safe zone. Union space, civilized. The movement came again. Smaller than he expected. A scraping sound like claws on steel. He pulled out his light and aimed it forward. The beam cut through the darkness and found something white huddled against a waste compactor. At first Daniel thought it was debris. Then it moved again and he saw wings. Broken wings. What the hell? He moved closer despite every instinct telling him to walk away. The creature was small, maybe the size of a large dog. Pure white scales covered its body. One wing spread out at an odd angle, clearly damaged. The other wing was tucked tight against its side. Blood stained the white scales black in the harsh light. A dragon. A real skyborn dragon. Daniel had seen them before from a distance. The skyborn were one of the oldest species in the Union. They kept to themselves mostly, proud, untouchable. Their dragons were considered sacred. This one was just a baby. The dragon's head lifted, its eyes met his. They were blue like ice and filled with pain and fear. The creature tried to pull itself further into the shadows, but its injured wing would not cooperate. A small sound escaped its throat, not quite a cry. More like a whimper. Daniel should have left. Getting involved with skyborn business was dangerous. They had laws older than human civilization, rules about their dragons that outsiders did not question. But those eyes, they reminded him of his daughter. That same look she had in the hospital when the doctor said there was nothing more they could do. Fear mixed with confusion. Why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? Daniel crouched down slowly. The dragon tensed, its good wings spread defensively. Sharp teeth showed in a weak threat display. Easy, Daniel said quietly. I am not going to hurt you. The dragon did not understand human words. But something in Daniel's tone made it pause. He had used that same voice with his daughter during thunderstorms. Calm, steady, safe. He looked around the disposal area. No one else was here, no skyborn searching for a lost dragon. That felt wrong. Dragons were precious to them. They would tear a station apart looking for a missing one. Unless they were not looking, unless they already knew where it was. Daniel stood and walked to the edge of the disposal area. From here he could see part of the main station through a viewing port. Skyborn moved through the crowds like silver ghosts. Tall and elegant, one of them wore elder markings. An important one. He pulled out his datapad and searched recent station logs. It took a few minutes to find what he was looking for. A Skyborn delegation had arrived 3 days ago. They had filed a declaration form. Standard procedure when dealing with sacred matters. Daniel read the form twice. The words were formal and cold. Mercy cleansing of defective hatchling, filed by Elder Silvercrest. Approved by Station Authority. Completed 2 hours ago. They threw it away. They threw away a living baby dragon because something was wrong with it. Daniel looked back at the small white creature huddled in the shadows. It had stopped watching him. Its eyes were closed now, breathing shallow. Dying slowly in the garbage. He thought about his daughter. How the doctors had done everything they could. How his wife had held their little girl until the very end. How they had never given up. How they had fought for every second. The Skyborn had just thrown this one away. Something hot and angry burned in Daniel's chest. He walked back to the dragon. It opened one eye as he approached. Too weak now to even pretend to fight. This is stupid, Daniel said to himself. This is the dumbest thing you have ever done. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around the small dragon. The creature flinched but did not resist. Its body was cold. Too cold, Daniel picked it up carefully, supporting the injured wing. The dragon was lighter than he expected. Fragile. I lost my family, Daniel whispered. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can do this one thing right. The dragon's eyes opened again. For just a moment, something passed between them. Understanding, maybe? Or just shared pain recognizing itself. Daniel carried the dying dragon through the disposal area. His ship was docked 2 levels down. It would take 15 minutes to get there, maybe less if he hurried. Maybe the dragon had 15 minutes left. Maybe they both did. He started walking faster. Behind him, the disposal area stayed empty and dark. No one saw him leave. No one cared about one more human deathworlder carrying garbage to his ship. That was fine with Daniel. He had spent 6 months being invisible. Time to do something that mattered again. 3 drops of blood fell onto the metal floor of the wandering star. Daniel watched them spread into small red circles. The dragon was bleeding through the bandages again. Stay still, he muttered. Knowing the creature could not understand him, the small white dragon lay on his workbench, surrounded by medical supplies. Most of them were meant for humans. Daniel had no idea if they would work on alien biology. But doing something felt better than watching the dragon die. He had cleaned the wounds as best he could. The twisted wing was the worst problem. Bones were broken in at least 3 places. On Earth, a bird with injuries like this would never fly again. Daniel did not know if dragons were different. The dragon's breathing had improved over the past 2 hours. That was good. Its body temperature was rising. Also good. But it had not opened its eyes since he brought it aboard. That worried him. Daniel pulled up files on his datapad. Information about Skyborn was limited. They did not share much with other species. What he found made his stomach turn. Skyborn culture valued perfection above everything else. Physical flaws were considered spiritual failures. Dragons were born in clutches of 5 to 10. Only the strongest survived the first year. The weak were culled, quickly, cleanly, without emotion. This dragon was white. Pure white. That should have made it special. The file said white dragons appeared once every few generations. They were considered blessed by ancient skyborn gods, but this one had a twisted wing. The blessing became a curse. The files said nothing about what happened to imperfect white dragons. Daniel could guess. The disposal area told that story clearly enough. He looked at the small creature on his workbench. So much beauty. So much potential. Thrown away because one wing did not work right. They are idiots, Daniel said quietly. All of them. The dragon's eye cracked open. Just one. It stared at him with that same ice blue color. Aware now, watching. Daniel held very still. He had read that dragons were intelligent. Not animal intelligent? People intelligent. Maybe more? This little one was understanding something even if it could not speak yet. I am Daniel, he said slowly. You are on my ship. You are safe here. The dragon blinked. Its eye tracked his movements as he reached for a water dispenser. He had mixed it with nutrients from his emergency supplies. The dragon needed fluids. He brought the dispenser close. The dragon's head pulled back, suspicious, scared. I know, Daniel said. You do not know me. You do not know if I will hurt you. But I am all you have right now. He waited, patient. His daughter had been scared of doctors too. You could not force trust. You had to earn it. The dragon watched him for a long moment. Then slowly, carefully, it stretched its neck forward. Its tongue touched the water. It pulled back quickly, tasted, decided, then drank. Daniel let out a breath he did not know he was holding. The dragon drank for 30 seconds, then stopped. Its head lowered back to the workbench. The effort had exhausted it. But those eyes stayed open now, watching Daniel. You need a name, Daniel said. I cannot keep calling you Dragon. He thought about it while he cleaned up the medical supplies. White scales, blue eyes, thrown away in the cold and dark, found in the snow of discarded dreams. Snow, he said finally. I will call you Snow. If you do not like it, you can tell me when you learn to talk. The dragon, Snow, blinked once. Daniel chose to believe that meant acceptance. Over the next few hours, Daniel worked on his ship while Snow rested. He checked on her every 15 minutes. Each time, those blue eyes were open and watching him, learning, understanding more than he realized. His datapad beeped. Incoming message. Official Union channel. Daniel's chest tightened. He opened the message carefully. It was a station-wide alert. Skyborne delegation searching for evidence of their disposed property. Any information should be reported immediately. Harboring sacred Skyborne property was a violation of Union law. Penalties included ship impoundment and criminal charges they were looking for. Snow. Daniel closed the message and looked at the small dragon. She was watching him with those knowing eyes. Somehow she understood. Somehow she knew they were in danger. He walked over to the workbench. Snow's head lifted slightly, waiting to see what he would do. I lost my family 6 months ago, Daniel said quietly. Shuttle accident. My wife and daughter, gone in less than a minute. I did not get to save them. I could not do anything. Snow's eyes stayed locked on his face. The Skyborn think you are broken. They think you are not worth saving? But I looked at you and saw my daughter, scared, hurt, needing someone to care. He reached out slowly. Snow tensed but did not pull away. His hand touched the top of her head gently. Her scales were smooth and warm now. I am not letting them take you, Daniel said. I do not care about their laws or their traditions. You are not property. You are not garbage. You are alive, and that means something. Snow made a sound, soft, almost like a purr. Her head pressed slightly into his hand. Daniel felt something break inside his chest. The wall he had built around his heart since the accident. The barrier that kept him numb and functional. It cracked and something warm leaked through. He was crying. When had that started? Snow shifted on the workbench. Her good wing stretched out and touched his arm, gentle, deliberate, comforting. We have to leave, Daniel said, wiping his face. They will search every ship eventually. We need to run. He moved to the pilot seat and began powering up the ship. The wandering star was old but fast. Fast enough to reach the rim territories before the Skyborn caught them. Maybe. Snow made another sound. Different this time. A question. Where are we going? Daniel asked. I do not know yet. Somewhere they will not find us? Somewhere we can figure out what comes next. The ship's engines hummed to life. Daniel requested departure clearance. The station took 3 minutes to respond. 3 very long minutes. Then clearance came through. The wandering star pulled away from Helios Crossing Station. Behind them, Skyborn hunters began searching empty ships. Ahead of them, the dark space between stars waited. Daniel looked at Snow. She was watching the view screen with wide eyes. Seeing stars for the first time. Just you and me now, Daniel said. Broken people saving each other. Snow's tail curled around his wrist like a promise. The research outpost looked abandoned from space. Daniel had almost flown past it before his sensors picked up the faint power signature. Perfect. Abandoned. Meant no questions, except it was not abandoned. A woman stood in the landing bay as his ship touched down. She wore a white lab coat over practical clothes. Her dark hair was tied back in a messy bun. She did not look surprised to see him. That made Daniel nervous. He left Snow sleeping in the cargo hold and walked down the ramp. His hand stayed near his knife. You are far from any shipping lanes, the woman said. Her accent was Earth American, West Coast maybe. This outpost is not on standard navigation charts. Got lost, Daniel said. Need some supplies. Lost, the woman smiled slightly. In a straight line from Helios Crossing. Running at maximum speed, very lost. Daniel said nothing. The woman walked closer. She moved like someone used to low gravity. Careful steps. I am Dr. Arya Wells, xenobiology researcher. I have been monitoring Union channels. Skyborn are looking for something. Someone took their property. Do not know anything about that. Right, Arya stopped a few meters away. I also noticed you have been scanning medical databases on Skyborn physiology. Very specific searches. Wing structure, healing rates. Pain management. Daniel's jaw tightened. He had been careful. Or thought he was. What do you want? He asked. To see it, Arya said simply. I have studied Skyborn for 8 years. Never been allowed close to their dragons. If you actually have one, I want to help. Why would you help? Arya's expression changed. Something hard entered her eyes. Because Skyborn science is built on genetic perfection. They call anything that does not meet their standards. As a scientist, I find that disgusting. As a human, I find it unforgivable. Daniel studied her face, looking for lies, looking for traps. He found only anger and curiosity. If I had something like that, Daniel said carefully, it would be hurt, badly. Then you need my help even more. Arya gestured to the outpost. I have medical equipment here, real equipment. Better than whatever you are using on your ship. Snow chose that moment to cry out. A high-pitched sound of distress that echoed from the cargo hold. Daniel turned and ran back up the ramp. Snow had woken up alone. She was trying to move, agitating her injuries. When she saw Daniel, she calmed slightly, but her eyes were wide with fear. It is okay, Daniel said, rushing to her side. I am here. Footsteps on the ramp. Arya appeared in the cargo hold entrance. She froze when she saw Snow. Oh my God, Arya whispered. She is white, pure white. Snow's head swung toward the new person. Her good wings spread defensively. A small growl rumbled in her chest. Easy, Daniel said to both of them. Arya, stay where you are. Snow, she wants to help. Snow? Arya said. You named her? She needed a name. Arya slowly sat down on the floor, making herself smaller, less threatening. Hello, Snow, she said softly. You are beautiful. Snow watched her suspiciously, but the growling stopped. That wing is badly broken, Arya said, keeping her voice gentle. Without proper treatment, it will heal wrong. She will never fly, I know, Daniel said. The words hurt to say. But maybe we can fix it. Arya looked up at him. Humans have been fixing broken bones for thousands of years. We are very good at it. She is not human. No, but bones are bones. Physics are physics. I have equipment here that can scan her wing structure. We can see exactly what is wrong and how to fix it. Daniel looked at Snow. The small dragon was still watching Arya, but seemed calmer now. Can you really help her? I can try. Arya stood slowly. But we need to move her to my medical bay. Better equipment. Sterile environment. Snow made a questioning sound. Her eyes found Daniel's face, asking, trusting him to decide. What if the Skyborn track us here? Daniel asked. This outpost is off the grid. I like my privacy. The Skyborn would have to search every rock in this sector to find us. Arya moved closer. And by then, maybe Snow will be strong enough to tell them herself what she thinks of their traditions. Daniel made a decision. He carefully lifted Snow in his arms. She was heavier than 2 days ago. Eating and drinking had helped. She curled against his chest, her good wing wrapping around his arm. Arya led them into the outpost. The interior was cleaner than Daniel expected. Research equipment lined the walls. Most of it looked expensive. Union-grade. The medical bay was in the center of the outpost. Arya cleared a large examination table. Daniel laid Snow down gently. She did not want to let go of him. Stay where she can see you, Arya said, pulling on sterile gloves. She trusts you, that will help. Over the next 2 hours, Arya worked while Daniel watched. She scanned Snow's wing with equipment that showed every bone and muscle in perfect detail. The images appeared on screens around the room. 3 breaks, Arya said, pointing to the scans. 2 clean, 1 compound fracture, that is the problem. Can you fix it? Arya was quiet for a moment. Maybe human medicine uses pins and plates to set bones. We developed the technique because Earth is dangerous. People break bones all the time. We had to learn how to fix them. And that will work on a dragon? Most alien species do not have this technology. They let nature take its course. The weak die, the strong survive. Arya looked at Snow. But humans decided that was not good enough. We decided everyone deserves a chance to heal. Snow was watching the screens, somehow understanding that they were looking at her wing. There is a problem, though, Arya said. Even if we set the bones perfectly, this wing will be weaker than the other. She might not be able to fly. Daniel felt something sink in his chest. Unless, Arya continued, we think like humans instead of skyborn. What do you mean? Arya pulled up another screen. Designs appeared, metal frameworks, lightweight supports, prosthetics. We make artificial limbs for people who lose them. What if we make a support structure for her wing? Something that shares the load, lets her fly even with a weaker wing. Daniel stared at the designs. You can do that? I can try. Arya smiled. Humans are very good at refusing to accept limitations. That is why we survived on Earth. Snow made a sound. Almost like agreement. Arya laughed. I think she likes the idea. Daniel touched Snow's head gently. You want to fly? Snow's eyes met his. In them he saw determination, hope, fight, all the things the Skyborn said she should not have. Okay, Daniel said. We try. Snow crashed into the wall for the 5th time. The prosthetic wing frame sparked against metal. Daniel winced. Again, Arya said from her control station. She's exhausted, Daniel argued. She is frustrated. Different thing. Arya adjusted something on her screen. The frame works. The problem is teaching her to use it. Snow limped back to the starting position. Her natural wing drooped with tiredness. The mechanical frame on her damaged wing whirred softly as it moved. It was beautiful in a way. Titanium alloy and carbon fiber wrapped around broken bones. Engineering meeting nature, but Snow could not make it work. She had grown over the past 3 weeks. Now the size of a full-grown human. Her white scales gleamed under the outpost lights. Her intelligence showed in every action. She understood their words now even if she could not speak them yet. But understanding did not equal ability. Daniel walked over to her. Snow's head lowered, ashamed. Hey, he said softly. You are doing great. Snow made a sound. Disagreement. She spread both wings. The natural one extended perfectly. The prosthetic one jerked and stuttered. Not synchronized? The frame responds to muscle movement, Arya explained. But her damaged muscles are not strong enough yet. She is trying to force it. So what do we do? Daniel asked. Stop trying to make her fly like other dragons. Arya came down from the control station. She is not other dragons. She is Snow. She needs her own way. Snow watched Arya approach. Over the weeks, they had built trust. Snow allowed Arya to check her wing now. Even seemed to like the attention. Think about human athletes, Arya said. Someone who loses a leg does not walk the same way anymore. They adapt. They find a new way that works for their body. Daniel thought about that. So we stopped trying to fix her and start teaching her to be different. Exactly. Snow tilted her head, listening. Daniel sat down on the floor. Snow immediately moved closer. She had become protective of him. Followed him everywhere in the outpost. At night she slept curled around his bed. The bond between them had deepened beyond words. When my daughter was learning to walk, Daniel said, she kept trying to do it like adults. Big steps, fast, she fell constantly. Snow settled next to him. Her tail wrapped around his leg. Then one day she figured it out. She took tiny steps. Used the walls for support. Found her own way. Daniel looked up at Snow. You do not need to fly like other dragons. You just need to fly. Snow stared at him. Those ice-blue eyes processing, understanding. Show her something, Arya said suddenly. Your species learns through imitation. Show her adaptation. Daniel stood. His left knee hurt. Old injury from before he became a cargo hauler. He walked normally for a few steps, then exaggerated his limp, showing how he compensated, how his right leg did more work. Snow watched intently. I am broken too, Daniel said. This knee does not work right. Never will. But I learned to walk anyway. Different than before, but still walking. He moved around the room. Sometimes the limp was barely noticeable, sometimes obvious, but always moving forward. Snow stood. Her wings spread. This time she did not try to mirror her natural wing. Instead, she moved the prosthetic first. Let it lead. The mechanical frame hummed, extended, locked. Her natural wing followed, supporting, balancing. Snow took 3 steps and jumped. The wings beat together. Not synchronized. Not perfect. But together, she lifted off the ground. Only a meter. Only for 3 seconds, but she flew. She crashed again, but this time she was laughing. The sound was strange. Half bird call, half joy. Daniel was laughing too. So was Arya? Snow tried again immediately. This time she stayed up for 5 seconds. Then 7. Each attempt different. Each attempt teaching her something new. She's doing it, Arya whispered. She is actually doing it. But then the alarm started. Arya ran to her console. Her face went pale. Ships, coming out of faster than light. 4 of them. Skyborn? Daniel asked. Yes. Arya pulled up scanner data. Led by a heavy cruiser. That is Elder Silvercrest's ship. Daniel felt cold. Snow sensed his fear. She landed roughly and moved to his side. Defensive. How did they find us? Arya asked. Does not matter. Daniel moved toward the door. We need to run. They will catch you. Arya was typing rapidly. They have faster ships. Better weapons. Then what do we do? Before Arya could answer, the communication system activated. A voice filled the room. Cold, ancient, powerful. Human vessel and research outpost. This is Elder Silvercrest of the Skyborn High Council. You are harboring stolen sacred property. Surrender the defective hatchling immediately or face destruction. Snow growled. The sound was deeper now. More dragon than hatchling. Defective, Daniel said. The word tasted like poison. They still think you are defective. Negative response will result in immediate military action, Silvercrest continued. You have 30 minutes to comply. The communication cut off. Arya looked at Daniel. What do we do? Daniel looked at Snow. She met his eyes. In that moment he saw everything. Her fear, her determination, her trust in him, and something else. Something new. Her eyes were glowing, faintly, blue light emanating from within. Snow? Daniel said. Snow moved to the center of the room. Her wings spread fully. The prosthetic frame gleamed. She tilted her head back and made a sound. Not a roar. Not a cry. Something ancient. Something that resonated in bones and souls. Markings appeared on her scales. Flowing patterns of light. They spread across her body like fire. Like destiny. What is happening? Arya whispered. Daniel did not know. But he felt it. Something enormous. Something that had been sleeping inside Snow. Something his grief had somehow awakened. The markings stabilized into symbols. Ancient Skyborn writing that neither human could read. Those are from the old texts, Arya said, her voice shaking. The forbidden texts. The ones about white dragons. What do they say? I do not know. The Skyborn destroyed most of them. Arya pulled up what references she had. But there are legends. White dragons who bonded with other species. Who could share emotions across the void. Who were meant to unite instead of divide. Snow looked at Daniel. The glow in her eyes intensified, then suddenly Daniel felt it. Snow's emotions. Not his own, hers, flooding into him. Fear, yes. But also courage, love, determination, and something bigger. A knowing that this moment had been coming since the disposal area. Since the first time their eyes met. Bridge dragon, Arya read from her screen. That is what they called them. Dragons who build bridges between species through empathy. Snow turned toward the window. The skyborne ships were visible now. Coming closer. Daniel moved to stand beside her. Whatever happens, we face it together. Snow's wing, both natural and prosthetic, brushed against his shoulder, outside. Destiny arrived in ships of silver and judgment. Silvercrest looked exactly like Daniel expected, tall, silver scales that caught light like mirrors, eyes that held centuries of certainty. He stood in the outpost's main bay surrounded by 6 skyborne warriors. All of them carried weapons. Daniel stood in front of Snow. Unarmed, human, mortal. Step aside, human, Silvercrest said. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. This does not concern your species. Everything about her concerns me, Daniel replied. Silvercrest's eyes narrowed. He looked past Daniel at Snow. The white dragon stood with wings spread. The prosthetic frame gleamed against her scales. The ancient markings still glowed faintly on her body. Impossible, Silvercrest whispered. Then louder, you have desecrated sacred property, attached crude machinery to a divine being. The punishment for such acts is death. She is not property, Daniel said. She is alive. She has her own mind. Her own choices. She is defective. We showed mercy by ending her suffering quickly. Silvercrest moved closer. You extended that suffering. Made it worse. This is cruelty masked as kindness. You threw her away like garbage. We released her from a life of shame. Silvercrest's voice rose. A dragon who cannot fly is no dragon at all. We spared her the pain of failure. She can fly, Arya said from beside her console. We taught her, Silvercrest laughed. The sound was sharp and cold. With human machines, with artificial support? That is not flight, that is mockery. Snow made a sound, low, angry. The glow in her eyes intensified. She disagrees, Daniel said. She is a child, she does not understand. Silvercrest gestured to his warriors. Take the hatchling. Execute the humans for their crimes. The warriors moved forward. Snow stepped in front of Daniel. Her wings spread wider. The markings on her scales blazed brighter. She opened her mouth and spoke, not in growls or roars. In words, stop. Everyone froze, even Silvercrest. You speak, the elder said slowly. Hatchlings do not speak for years. I am not hatchling anymore, Snow said. Her voice was young but clear. Feminine, strong, I am Bridge Dragon. The marks prove this. Silvercrest stared at the glowing symbols. Those marks are myths, propaganda from weaker times? They are real. I am real. Snow moved forward. You threw me away because my wing was broken. Because I was not perfect. Yes, Silvercrest said without shame. Perfection is our way. It has kept the Skyborn strong for millennia. It has kept you alone, Snow replied. Isolated. Afraid. We fear nothing. You fear change. Snow's voice grew stronger. You fear anything different. That is why you destroyed the white dragons. Why you erased the bridge dragons from history. Murmurs ran through the Skyborn warriors. They were looking at Silvercrest now, questioning. The ancient texts are forbidden for good reason, Silvercrest said. They speak of weakness, of bonds with lesser species, of compromising our purity. They speak of unity, Snow said, of sharing strength instead of hoarding it. And look what that gave you. Silvercrest pointed at her prosthetic wing. You needed human machines to fly. You needed their pity, their broken technology for broken beings. I needed their kindness, Snow said. Their refusal to accept that broken means worthless. Daniel felt his throat tighten, hearing Snow speak his own thoughts back in her voice. They are Deathworlders, Silvercrest said with disgust. Their planet tried to kill them every day. Of course they developed crude ways to survive, but that is not strength. That is desperation. No, Arya said. All eyes turned to her. She stood. Earth made us strong in ways you never understood. We learned that life is precious, that every individual matters, that helping each other survive is not weakness. It is how we conquered a planet that wanted us dead. Primitive sentiment. Silvercrest dismissed. Daniel lost his family, Snow said suddenly. Wife and daughter, dead in accident. He was broken, grieving, but when he found me dying, he chose to help. He chose to care when it would have been easier to walk away. Foolish human emotion, Silvercrest said. It saved my life, Snow's voice echoed in the bay. His grief awakened my power, his pain called to mine. We healed each other. The markings on Snow's scales pulsed. Light spread out from her body. It touched Daniel first. He gasped as emotion flooded through him. Not just his feelings or Snow's. Something bigger. Connection, understanding, the barrier between self and other dissolving. The light touched Arya next. She made a sound of wonder, then it reached the Skyborn warriors. They stumbled back, eyes wide, experiencing something they had never felt. Other minds, other hearts, other perspectives. Stop this, Silvercrest commanded. But even he was affected, his expression cracked. Uncertainty showing through. You feel it, Snow said. What I feel. What Daniel feels. What all beings feel. Pain, hope, fear, love. We are not so different. We are superior, Silvercrest said, but his voice shook. You are alone, Snow replied. And loneliness is its own suffering. The light faded. Everyone stood in silence. The Skyborn warriors looked at each other, at Silvercrest, at Snow, seeing everything differently now. The prophecy was right, one warrior said quietly. When the broken bond with the grieving, the old ways shall fall. Silence, Silvercrest commanded. But his authority was cracking. I will not return, Snow said. I will not accept your mercy that is really murder. One choose Daniel, I choose humans, I choose to build bridges. Then you choose exile, Silvercrest said. You will never be Skyborn. I was never given that choice. Snow moved to stand beside Daniel. Her wing, both natural and prosthetic, brushed against his arm. But I am Bridge Dragon. That is enough. More light pulsed from Snow's scales. This time it reached beyond the outpost. Out into space, calling, What have you done? Silvercrest whispered. Through the viewports, something appeared, more dragons. White dragons, emerging from hiding places across the sector. Dozens of them, all bearing the marks of bridge dragons. All responding to Snow's call. The old ways were falling. And something new was being born. The Union Council chamber had never held so many species at once. Representatives from 200 worlds filled the space. At the center stood Daniel, Snow, and Arya. Across from them, Silvercrest and the Skyborn delegation. Between them, the future was being decided. The facts are clear, the Union Arbiter said. She was a tall being from a methane-breathing species. Her translator made her voice sound mechanical. The human designated Daniel Cross removed property belonging to the Skyborn. Under Union law, this is theft. Daniel felt Snow tense beside him. Her tail wrapped around his leg, protective, afraid. However, the Arbiter continued, new evidence has emerged. Evidence that complicates this matter. Images appeared on the screens around the chamber. Ancient Skyborn texts, prophecies, and the biological scans of Snow showing her unique neural structure. Her ability to create emotional bonds across species barriers. Bridge dragons are real, the Arbiter said. They are not myths. The scientific evidence is undeniable. This changes the legal status of the individual called Snow. Murmurs spread through the chamber. She remains Skyborn property, Silvercrest argued. Ancient abilities do not change ownership. They change everything, a voice called out. An older Skyborn stepped forward. Her scales were darker than Silvercrest's, marked with age. I am Council Member Windwhisper. I have studied the Forbidden's texts. Bridge dragons were never property. They were partners, equals. Silvercrest's expression hardened. You speak heresy. I speak truth. Windwhisper moved to the center of the chamber. Our ancestors bred the bridge dragons out of our species. They feared the bonds. Feared losing control. We have spent 300 years denying our own history. A history of weakness, Silvercrest said. A history of connection, Windwhisper countered. And now it has returned. Not through our choice, but through human compassion. She looked at Daniel. Her eyes were kind. This human found a dying child and saved her. Not for profit, not for advantage, because it was right. That is a strength the Skyborn forgot. Strength is perfection, Silvercrest insisted. Purity, power, strength is adaptation. The voice came from behind Daniel. He turned to see other humans entering the chamber, scientists, doctors, soldiers, all wearing Earth insignias. One stepped forward. An older woman with gray hair and determined eyes. I am Ambassador Ruth Santos of Earth. I speak for humanity before this council. The Arbiter nodded. The council recognizes Earth's representative. Humanity has followed this case closely, Santos said, because it represents everything we are. We come from a planet that tried to kill us daily. We survived by refusing to accept limitations, by helping each other, by seeing value in the broken. She walked towards Snow. The dragon lowered her head. Respectful but not submissive. This dragon should have died. Your species decided she had no worth. But a human saw different. A grieving man found purpose in saving her. That is what we do. That is what makes us human. It makes you weak, Silvercrest said. It makes us strong. Santos turned to face him. We have been part of the Union for 15 years. In that time, we have shocked you with our technology, our weapons, our ships. But our real strength is simpler. We care even when it hurts, even when it is hard. Snow made a sound agreement. The question before this council is simple, Santos continued. Does Snow have the right to choose her own path? Or is she property to be reclaimed? She is Skyborn, Silvercrest said. She belongs with her species. She is Bridge Dragon, Wind Whisper said. She belongs where she chooses. That was always the way. The Arbiter looked at Snow. The individual in question must speak. Snow, daughter of Skyborn, carrier of the bridge marks? What do you choose? The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to Snow. She stood taller. Wings spread. The prosthetic frame gleamed next to her natural wing. The ancient markings glowed on her scales. I choose Daniel, Snow said clearly. I choose humans. I choose to build bridges between species. That is my purpose. My destiny? You reject your own kind? Silvercrest asked, pain mixed with his anger now. I reject a kind that throws away children, Snow said. I reject perfection that allows no flaws. I reject a culture that fears connection. She moved closer to Daniel. Their bond visible in how they moved together, synchronized, united. Daniel was broken by grief. I was broken by rejection. We healed each other. That healing awakened something ancient in me. Something your species tried to destroy. Light pulsed from her scales. Gentle this time, showing not forcing. Every being in the chamber felt it. Connection, understanding, the walls between species thinning. This is what bridge dragons do, Snow said. We share emotion. We create empathy. We remind all species that beneath different forms we are all alive. All matter. All connected. The light faded. Many representatives were crying. Others sat in shocked silence. Experiencing something they never had before, the Arbiter was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. The Union Council rules in favor of Snow. She is recognized as an independent being with the right to choose her own path. No species may claim ownership. Silvercrest made a sound of fury, but Wind Whisper placed a hand on his shoulder. It is done. The old ways have fallen. We must adapt or die. Snow looked at the gathered Skyborn. Others will come. More white dragons are waking. More bridge dragons are choosing partners. This is just the beginning. Silvercrest stared at her. Then slowly, painfully, he bowed his head. Perhaps we were wrong. 3 months later, Daniel stood on the deck of a new ship. The wandering star had been replaced by something bigger. Something built for a crew. For a mission. Snow flew beside the ship. Her prosthetic wing working perfectly now. She had grown again. Nearly full size. Beautiful and powerful. Arya worked at a console behind him. Another signal. A colony on the far side of the sector. They found a sick alien that no one wants to treat. Set course, Daniel said. He looked at Snow through the viewport. She looked back. Their bond stronger than ever. Through their connection, he felt her emotions, joy, purpose, home. He had lost his family to tragedy, found purpose in grief, and learned that being broken was just another way of being strong. Snow banked toward the stars. Daniel followed. Together, they went to heal a galaxy that did not know it needed healing. The prophecy was fulfilled. The old ways had fallen, and in the space between stars, bridges were being built. One connection at a time.